Let me ask you something. Where's your focus right now? No, don't just answer that in your head. I want you to feel that question. Let it sink into your chest. Let it hit your soul. Where's your focus? Because your life, everything you are, everything you will become, is a direct result of what you give your attention to. Some of you say you want success. You say you want greatness. You talk about goals, dreams, and vision boards, but your focus is scattered like leaves in the wind. One day you're locked in. The next day you're distracted. One moment you're grinding, the next you're scrolling. Your place your focus is exactly where your life is headed. People underestimate how powerful attention is. They think it's just about what you're looking at or what you're thinking about temporarily, but it goes way deeper than that. Your focus builds your habits, shape your character, and your character determines your destiny. If you're constantly distracted, if your attention is always pulled in 100 directions, then you are allowing life to be lived for you instead of by you. Most people don't realize this until they've wasted months or years chasing things that didn't matter. That's what happens when you focus on what's urgent instead of what's important. That's what happens when you let everyone else decide what deserves your energy instead of choosing it for yourself. Focus isn't passive. It's intentional. It's a discipline. And it's not easy because the world is full of noise, full of temptation, full of things that look good on the outside but cost you peace, purpose, and progress on the inside. Focus requires you to say no when it would be easier to say yes. It requires you to shut out the chaos, tune into your mission, and block out what doesn't align with where you're trying to go. You can't move forward when your mind is stuck in yesterday. You can't chase your dream when you're distracted by someone else's life. The direction of your life depends on what you give your attention to day in and day out. It doesn't matter how passionate you are if your passion is unfocused. Passion without direction is chaos. Drive without discipline is destruction. Some people say they want to change their life, but their focus is still stuck on blaming others, on complaining, on comparing themselves to everybody else. That kind of focus builds frustration, not freedom. Every time you feed your mind negativity, you're watering seeds of doubt and insecurity. Every time you focus on the problem and not the solution, you're giving your power away. A real growth starts when you take your attention off distraction and put it on development. Real change begins when you stop reacting to everything and start focusing on what you can control. You don't rise by chance. You rise by choice. You rise because you decided to focus on the right things long enough to see results. Most people want fast results, but aren't willing to give slow, steady, focused effort. But that's the truth about building anything worthwhile. It takes time, and it takes focus that doesn't quit when it gets hard. Your focus will be tested. You'll be tempted to quit. You'll be tempted to shift your attention to easier things, more comfortable paths, safer options. But if your focus is strong, your direction will stay clear. You keep your eyes on the vision, not on the distractions. You'll remember why you started when your energy starts fading. You'll keep moving forward even when the progress feels invisible because your focus isn't on the noise, it's on the outcome. The reality is, where your focus goes, your energy flows. If you focus on fear, you will freeze. If you focus on failure, you stop trying. But if you focus on growth, you'll evolve. If you focus on becoming better, you'll improve. Your focus creates your future, whether you're aware of it or not. The results you're seeing right now are a reflection of your past focus. And what you experience next will be a direct result of where you choose to place that focus today. You can't expect to move toward greatness if your attention is still locked on everything that pulls you away from it. Every choice, every action, every opportunity you pursue or ignore is shaped by what you're focused on in the moment. That's why focus isn't just important. It's everything. It's the foundation of achievement, the starting point of breakthrough, the compass that leads you through the fog of life's uncertainty. You're not losing because you're not talented. You're losing because you're distracted. That's the truth most people don't want to face. It's easier to blame the system, blame timing, blame people, or even blame bad luck. But the root of the problem is often right in front of you. Distraction is the silent killer of dreams. It doesn't show up loud. It doesn't scream and whisper. It slowly steals your time, your energy, your attention. You don't even realize you've lost momentum until you're months deep in habits that don't serve you. One missed day turns into a missed week. One distraction becomes a lifestyle, and then you wonder why nothing's moving. The scariest part about distraction is that it often comes dressed as something harmless. It looks like a quick scroll on your phone. It looks like answering one more message. It looks like saying yes to things that aren't aligned with your purpose. It shows up in entertainment, in gossip, in overthinking, and constantly reacting instead of responding. It shows up as people who pull you into their drama, their chaos, their story. And before you know it, you've lost focus on your own. You're helping everybody else write their script while your own life is paused. Distraction isn't always about being lazy. Sometimes it's about being too available to everything except your mission. You might have the talent, the ideas, the skills, the passion, but if you let distraction take control, you'll never see the results you deserve. Greatness doesn't come to those who dabble. It comes to those who decide, who commit, who cut off everything that doesn't move them forward. The most dangerous thing in the world isn't a lack of ability, it's divided attention. You can't run a race looking sideways. You can't build a legacy constantly checking your notification. You can't grow when your attention's broken into pieces by things that hold no value. You don't need more time. You need fewer distractions. When you stay distracted, you live in a state of reaction. You're always chasing, always responding, always adjusting to what's happening around you instead of creating what happens within you. Distraction keeps you busy but unproductive. You feel like you're doing a lot, but nothing's actually getting done. You fill your days with tasks that aren't connected to your purpose. You confuse movement with progress. And every day you repeat that cycle, your potential shrink a little more. Not because you aren't capable, but because you allowed your focus to be stolen. Distraction is the tool the enemy uses to keep you average. Not that you can't go higher. It's that you've been too distracted to even climb. Think about how many hours you've given to things that didn't matter. Think about how many opportunities slipped by because you were tuned into the wrong frequency. Every moment you give to distraction is a moment stolen from your future. You can't build something meaningful while being mentally scattered. Focus is the difference between almost and accomplished, between busy and effective, between stuck and soaring. We live in a world that profits from your distraction. Algorithms are built to hold your attention hostage. Your lack of focus is someone else's business model. That's why you gotta guard your mind like your life depends on it. Because it does. Your mind is your most valuable resource. And when you allow distractions to dominate it, you lose the power to create, to lead, to grow. You gotta become intentional about what you consume, who you listen to, what you engage with. Every choice you make is shaping your mind. And your mind is shaping your reality. If you're serious about winning, you gotta declare war on distraction. You gotta cut ties with everyone that drains your mental energy. You've gotta build an environment where focus thrives. Because no matter how gifted you are, if you're distracted, you'll never tap into the full capacity of that gift. Distraction might feel comfortable, but it's costing you the breakthrough. It's costing you the business, the book, the body, the peace, the power, the clarity. You don't need to do more than more. You need to do less of what's not aligned. You need to stop giving your time to things that won't matter in a year, in a month, or even next week. You have the energy. You're not tired. You're just giving your energy to the wrong things. Most people walk around saying they're exhausted, drained, worn out, burned out, like they don't have anything left in the tank. But if you look closely, it's not that they're empty. It's that their energy is being spent on things that don't give anything back. They're pouring themselves into distractions, into other people's drama, into comparisons, into conversations that go nowhere, into entertainment that numbs but doesn't nourish. And then they wonder why there's nothing left for their goals, their growth, their calling. The truth is, energy is not just physical. It's emotional, it's mental, it's spiritual. You can sleep 8 hours and still wake up exhausted if your mind has been racing all night with anxiety. You can sit still all day and still feel worn out if your heart is consumed with conflict, frustration, or guilt. You can eat well, exercise, and still feel stuck if your energy is going into things that drain your soul. This is why managing your energy isn't about doing less. It's about doing more of what feeds you and less of what empties you. It's about identifying the things that pull into your purpose versus the things that pull you away from it. You were never meant to give your best energy to the wrong priorities. But that's exactly what happens when you start your day with distractions instead of direction. You wake up and immediately check your phone. You scroll through negativity, chaos, noise, before you've even had a moment to breathe. You let the outside world enter your mind before you set your own intention. That right there is how your energy gets hijacked. Before you've done anything meaningful for yourself, your energy is already being drained by things that don't move you forward. You gave your attention away, and with it, your power. Think about how different your life would be if you redirected your energy. If you stopped giving your focus to things you can't control. If you stopped spending your day reacting to everything and started deciding where your energy should go. You say you want to change. You say you want to level up. But change doesn't happen in your intention. It happens in your energy. You can't just want it. You got to work for it, and that work takes focus. It takes clarity. It takes choosing every single day to protect your energy like your future depends on it. And this isn't about being perfect or robotic. It's not about cutting off everything and living in a cave. It's about being mindful. It's about being aware. It's about recognizing when your energy is being drained by things that aren't giving anything back. You can't afford to keep leaking energy on things that don't grow you. Every yes you give is a no to something else. Every minute you spend out of alignment is a minute you could spend building something real. You've only got so much to give. Why waste it? Energy is fuel. When you direct it toward your vision, your mission, your habits, your healing, you start to feel stronger, more alive, more capable. You start to see momentum. You start to see small shifts that build into big change. But it begins with the choice to reclaim your energy, to stop giving it to every ping, every notification, every person who pulls you into something that doesn't align. You've got to be ruthless with your focus. You've got to be disciplined with your attention. Because that's where your energy flows, and where your energy flows, your results grow. You weren't created to survive in a cycle of burnout. You weren't built just to get through the day, collapse at night, and do it all again tomorrow without purpose. You were created with power, with potential, with energy that can transform your life when it's directed with intention. That power is still inside you. It hasn't left. It's just been buried under all the distractions, obligations, and habits that don't serve your higher self. The moment you stop giving your energy to the wrong things is the moment you start getting it back. It's the moment everything begins to change. On my sword, you can't achieve $1 million vision with minimum effort and part-time focus. That's the gap that keeps most people stuck between where they are and where they say they want to be. They have the vision, they have the idea, they even talk about it with passion, but their commitment doesn't match the level of what they're trying to create. They show up when it's convenient, they work when they feel like it, and they expect life to reward them for half-stepping. That's not how greatness is built. That's not how legacies are created. If the dream is big, the focus has to be bigger. If the goal is massive, the dedication has to be relentless. You don't get to casually chase greatness and expect to catch it. Part-time focus leads to part-time results. You can't tiptoe toward excellence. You can't be consistent on Monday and disappear by Wednesday. You have to be all in. There's no in-between when it comes to building something that lasts. Too many people are treating their vision like a hobby, like something they can put down and pick back up whenever they feel inspired. But a vision without commitment is just a wish. A goal without focus is just noise. It sounds good, but it doesn't mean anything until your actions reflect it every single day. If your dream is to build something extraordinary, your focus needs to reflect that dream, not just in moments of motivation, but in the grind, in the discipline, in the silence when nobody's watching. The level of focus you bring will determine the quality of your results. You can't build a championship body going to the gym once a week. You can't become a master at your craft if you're only practicing when life feels easy. You can't build wealth if you keep spending energy on distractions. The truth is, your future is waiting for you to match its weight with your focus. If the dream is heavy, your effort needs to be stronger. Your discipline needs to be tighter. Your routine needs to be built around your goals, not your comfort. Comfort will never push you forward. Comfort will never challenge you to level up. but focus will. Focus will force you to look at your time differently. Focus will expose your excuses. Focus will call you out when you start slipping into old patterns. That's why it's hard. That's why most people don't maintain it. It's easy to get excited. It's easy to talk about what you're going to do. It's hard to lock in and stay locked in, especially when you don't see immediate results. But if you really want it, you'll focus anyway. You'll show up when it's hard. You'll grind through the resistance. Because the dream means more to you than the distractions. You don't rise to the level of your vision. You fall to the level of your focus. The higher the goal, the more narrow your path has to become. You can't afford to say yes to everything and expect to go far. You have to cut out the noise. You have to get laser focused on what moves you forward. That might mean saying no to people. That might mean missing out on moments. That might mean waking up early, staying up late, grinding in the quiet while the world is distracted. But that's the price of growth. That's the price of living at a level most people only dream about. If your focus doesn't match your ambition, your results will never match your potential. You've got to work like the dream is already real. You've got to focus like there's no plan B. That's how empires are built. That's how lives are changed. Not with hype, not with occasional motivation, but with sustained, consistent focus on what truly matters. Everything you want is already out there. But the question is whether your focus is sharp enough to go after it, whether your mind is clear enough to stay locked in on the mission, whether you're willing to sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term purpose. That's the difference between wishing for success and actually walking it out. That's what separates average from elite. Not just talent, not just desire, focus, ruthless, intentional, no excuse focus. Momentum doesn't come from doing everything. It comes from doing the right things consistently. A lot of people are busy, but they're not moving forward. They fill their days with activity, but there's no direction. And they confuse being active with being productive. But the truth is, without focus, all that energy is just noise. If your actions aren't tied to your purpose, if your efforts aren't aligned with your goals, then you're just spinning in circles. Progress only happens when your energy is aimed at something intentional, something strategic, something that actually moves the needle life. That's the difference between hustle and momentum. Hustle is effort, but momentum is effort with direction. You don't build momentum by jumping from one thing to the next every day. You build it by locking in on what matters and refusing to let go. You build it by stacking disciplined days, one on top of another, even when the results are slow, even when it feels like nothing is changing. Momentum is built in the grind. It's built when you keep showing up, when you keep doing the small things that create big change over time. Most people don't get stuck because they lack talent. They get stuck because they don't stay focused long enough on one thing to see it through. They abandon the process because it feels slow. But momentum always feels slow at first. That's the test. That's where most people quit. You can't chase 10 goals at once and expect to build real momentum in any of them. Focus requires clarity. It demands that you get honest about what actually matters and what's just distraction disguised as productivity. Every day you have to choose what gets your energy. You have to ask yourself, is this moving me forward or just keeping me busy? Is this helping me grow or just keeping me distracted? The more clearly you can answer those questions, the faster you'll build momentum. You don't need to do more. You need to do what matters with more consistency and more intensity. Momentum also requires sacrifice. You can't keep holding on to everything and expect to go far. At some point, you have to let go of the things that slow you down. That might mean habits that no longer serve you, relationships that drain you, thoughts that keep you small. Momentum needs space to move. It needs your full attention. It needs you to commit, not just when it's exciting, but when it's boring, when it's quiet. That's where the real growth happens. Not when you feel inspired, but when you choose discipline over emotion. That choice made consistently is what builds momentum that carries you through the highs and the lows. Another key to momentum is feedback. You can't stay stuck in the same routine and expect progress. You have to evaluate. You have to adjust. Momentum doesn't mean doing the same thing forever. It means staying focused on the goal while being flexible with the strategy. If something isn't working, fix it. If a habit is slowing you down, change it. But never lose sight of the vision. Never let discouragement rob you of your focus. Setbacks are part of the process. Failure isn't the end. It's information. Learn from it, get back up, and keep moving. That's how momentum grows. Not from perfection, but from persistence. You'll know you're building momentum when you stop needing motivation to get started. You'll know you're moving in the right direction when action becomes automatic. That's the beauty of focus. It simplifies everything. Don't waste time overthinking because your path is clear. You don't waste energy second guessing because you know where you're going. Every step you take is intentional. Every decision you make is aligned. And as that consistency builds, so does your confidence. You start to see the results stack up. You start to feel the shift. You realize that success isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right thing over and over until the breakthrough comes. If you don't take control of your focus, the world will. Every single day, you're bombarded with things trying to grab your attention. Notifications, headlines, gossip, social media feeds, random opinions, and noise from every direction. And if you don't decide where your mind goes, someone else will decide for you. Companies are spending billions of dollars just to distract you. Algorithms are designed to keep you hooked. Other people's urgency is constantly trying to interrupt your purpose. If you live in reaction mode, always responding, always checking, always consuming, you'll wake up one day and realize your life was shaped by things that had nothing to do with your values, your goals, or your vision. The truth is, focus isn't passive. Focus is a weapon. It's your power to filter the world and say, this is what I'm about. This is what I'm building. This is what I'm giving my energy to. Without that filter, you become vulnerable to everything. You start chasing things you don't even want. You start caring about things that don't matter. You end up exhausted, overwhelmed, unfulfilled. Not because you weren't capable, but because your focus was hijacked. You were busy, but not effective. You were moving, but not progressing. That's what happens when you live by default instead of design. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out. But you do have to be intentional. You have to own your mind. Because if you don't, it will be shaped by whatever's loudest. It will be shaped by other people's expectation, by distractions disguised opportunity, by comfort dressed up as contentment. That's up as contentment. And all the while, your real calling, your deep purpose, sits in the background waiting for you to come back to it. That's the danger of living without control over your focus. You start reacting to everything. And when you live in reaction, you give your power away. Taking control of your focus means setting boundaries that protect your peace. It means designing your day with intention instead of just letting it happen to you. It means saying no to things that feel good in the moment, but don't build anything lasting. It means making decisions based on your mission, not your mood. Focus isn't always about doing more. It's often about doing more. It's often about doing less. Cutting the noise, removing distraction. Protecting your time like your future depends on it, because it does. Every minute you give to something unimportant is a minute stolen from your dream. There's a reason why some people move fast in life, why they seem to create results, while others are still planning, still thinking, still wishing. It's not luck. It's not always talent. It's focus. Ruthless, unapologetic focus. The ability to lock in on what matters and block out what doesn't. The willingness to ignore the opinions, the chaos, the fear, and do the work even when nobody's watching. When you take control of your focus, you start moving differently. You stop needing permission. You stop waiting for perfect timing. You start showing up with intention, clarity, and purpose. You were not designed to live distracted. You weren't built to spend your energy on everything but your purpose. That's why it feels empty. That's why it feels frustrating. Because deep down, your soul knows when you're off track. Your heart knows when you're giving too much to things that don't deserve you. Regaining your focus is not about being hard. It's about being honest. It's about looking at your habits, your routines, your environment, and asking yourself, is this helping me build the life I want, or is it holding me back? Focus gives you power over your life. It brings clarity where there's confusion. It brings strength where there's uncertainty. When your focus is clear, your path becomes clear. You make decisions faster. You move with purpose. You stop chasing everything and start building something. You stop reacting to what's happening and start creating what needs to happen. The world will always try to pull you in 100 directions. But the ones who win, the ones who break through, the ones who make impact, they are the ones who chose to take control of their focus and never let it go. So now the question is no longer, can you do it? The question is, will you focus long enough to make it real? The dream is yours. The vision is yours. The fire inside you has been burning, waiting for direction. But nothing changes until your focus changes. Not someday, not when it's easier. Nah, because your future isn't built in the big moments. It's built in the daily choices. And every choice you make is casting a vote for the person you're becoming. So stop looking around. Stop waiting for a sign. This is your sign. Lock in, tune out the noise, and go become everything you were built to be. Where's your focus? Let your life answer that question.